Hello and welcome to this week's episode of The Mandala Effect. Thank you for joining me. I have an incredible guest for you today, Tracy Litt, author, TEDx speaker, founder of the Litt Factor and the School of Becoming. Tracy is an incredible force of nature and our conversation is so heart-opening and authentic. It's probably one of my favourite to date. We cover what holistic success is, moving from lack and fear into the fifth dimension, how you can actually have your needs met, how to have it all, how to evolve into who you are here to become. There's also a special moment where I received some coaching from Tracy, completely spur of the moment, and around the fear of success. So you may be able to identify with this and take something from it. We cover so much more, and it's a really profound conversation. Tracy has offered to come back and do a round 2 of this conversation to answer all the questions that I didn't get to ask and all of your questions too. So if you have any questions around this episode, around anything that we cover, please email me hello@rosannacroft.com and I'll make sure to that your question is included in our next episode. So once again, thank you for joining us. If you haven't already, follow, subscribe and give the podcast a rating. It really helps us to spread the word and help these words reach more people. So sit back and enjoy. I am so excited to share this week's guest with you, Tracy Litt. Welcome.
Thank you. I'm so excited to be here with you.
I'm really excited for this conversation because, as I just shared with you very briefly, I saw your interview with Kathy Heller, or your chat, because I know you guys are friends. And it was a chat as well. I loved it. It was just so real and raw, not what you often see on Instagram. And I was so immediately drawn to your energy. It just oozed ease and expansion. So I'm really excited to see where this conversation goes and what we can bring to our listeners. So would you just like to tell us who Tracy is in your own words?
Yes. Tracy is a spirit in human form. Tracy is fully expressed. I often feel like I'm 8 years old showing up in this 46-year-old body, right? Like anytime we're hanging out, my little girl is present with me all the time. I am the mother of 3 young women, 2 in college, 1 a senior in high school, and that is absolutely my greatest contribution to date. I'm the founder of the Litt Factor and the founder of the School of Becoming, which is a new revolutionary institute of higher consciousness and intentional evolution for women leaders and entrepreneurs. I am a wife. I'm a sister. I am a grantee because my mom passed when I was 24, and my younger sister, who is 9 years younger than me, has her children. So I get to play this role of combo grandma and so I'm the grantee, and it is one of the most fulfilling, heart-filling roles that I get to play in my life. So those are little things about me.
Wow, that is a lot. And I love it that you've sort of covered all of your roles in this human life, because so often we forget that we bring so much to the world other than just what we do.
Oh, it's so important. So, I we're a tapestry, right? Our identity is not singular. And inside of our identity and the evolution of our identity, we hold so many roles in the tapestry of who we are. And to not acknowledge all of those parts is to cut yourself off.
Yeah.
And it's important even now as you're reflecting the way that I introduce myself, which this is what I love about organic conversations. One thing opens up everything that everyone needs in the moment. And if, beautiful listener, you're here and you're like, whoa, I don't think I would have introduced myself that way or seen it that way, then that's a really great moment of awareness, because one of the things we're all doing, my work, your work, right, is to shift paradigms and start to build this new world in a different way. And when we go into the old school model, we answer what we do, right? In terms of what do we get paid for? Because in the third dimension of consciousness, that's how we function, right? And as we go, wait a minute, this is holistic. This is bigger than that. What are all the parts of you? We want to help you flush that out, fill that out. Because if we are not enjoying and generating holistic success, there is no success at all.
No, absolutely not. So how can somebody look at their life holistically then, as how can somebody kind of assess their holistic success in life?
So holistic success is looking at everything beyond the old definition of success. So the old definition of success is hierarchy, title, authority. And you're like, okay, did I make it? Am I enough now? Right? Which is the lie, everyone.
Am I happy?
Right. And just to really kind of anchor this, the third dimension of consciousness, which is how we were all entrained to be, and the culture that we all live in, albeit we're awakening and all of those beautiful things. Obviously, we're having this conversation. But in the third dimension of consciousness, it's important to recognize that thrives on lack, fear, and separation. And in lack, fear, and separation, we live through an outside creates the inside paradigm, an externally driven paradigm. That's why we have been led to believe and perceive that what we do affirms how worthy or valuable we are, right? So that external success measurement is then how we define success. In the old days, I like to say now. And then we chase these, fictitious carrots, and then you wonder why you now perceive that you have everything externally, and yet you still feel empty internally, right? You're not actually, you said, and happy, right? You're not actually experiencing the emotions that you're capable of experiencing because you've been making it dependent on something outside of you. So it's short-lived, because then you're like, okay, so what's next? How do I get the hit on the emotion that I've been craving to feel, when the house and the kids and the dog and the white picket fence and the corner office or the 7-figure business hasn't given that to me yet? All of that lives in the lower level of consciousness. And I want to just teach that for a minute, because it's important, right? When you have knowledge, it really is powerful. So in terms of assessing your own holistic success, what are all the beautiful parts of you and what you love? Like, grab a pen and paper, and if you're a mother, a sister, an aunt, a spouse, a CEO, a friend, a lover, a nature enthusiast, like, what are all, I'm a singer also, right? So it's like, what are all those parts of you, and how satiated are you feeling in all of those categories? Like a little quick audit. And what are your needs in those areas of your tapestry? And how do we work together to help you meet those needs, right?
I think that's
And
really important, the needs.
it all comes down to needs. It all comes down to needs, right? So if you look at your holistic success and you're like, okay, wait, and in this category of wife, oh, wow, I realize now one of my needs is more intimacy and orgasm. Okay, let's get those needs met, right? Because then if you come into me and we talk about it and you say, great, my business is thriving and this and that, and I feel really successful, but you're not getting your needs met intimately in your marriage, then that's not holistic success. And that's what we're really looking for. You deserve to have it all at the same time. And it's safe. Whatever your all is, yours is different than mine, is different than whoever's listening to us, right? You deserve to experience your all simultaneously.
And so in the olden days,
Exactly.
consciousness, that's not what we're programmed to believe. So how can we start to reprogram that we can have it all, and have it all with ease.
Yeah. So in true highest service of you, there is not a quick answer I can give in a podcast that will
Oh,
suffice.
damn it.
I will give you some stuff though, but I also want to be clear because integrity is really important, and we do proven identity evolution work. That's what we
Yeah.
do inside the School of Becoming. Um, so, you invest so you can really be held, and you can do all of the different healing, cellular trauma release work, the mind work, all the things. But where you start is listening to a conversation like this and becoming aware that the old program exists.
Hmm.
I mean, I think people under discuss this. It's really profound, the power that occurs when you elevate your awareness, which means you're naturally elevating your consciousness to go, oh my God, there's a program running me. There's this, that starts this bubbling up of liberation.
Hmm.
So if you can allow yourself to say, wait a second, all right, so who I've been is because of a set of programs and influences and belief structures and the imprint of my nervous system and all of these things, and you become aware of that. That's step one, because the awareness allows you to realize there are different dimensions, which allows you to start to change those things that you notice.
Yeah.
That's really the beginning point.
And I think that's so important, because it does, just when you become aware, you start to just have these little moments of, oh, there's the program again, and there it is again. And then we can start to question where the program came from, why we have it, and why we feel the need to maybe hang on to it, because it's quite scary to step out of an old paradigm that our body is so comfortable living.
Exactly. And that's really why a lot of our work is centered around fear. My TED talk was on fear. We study the biology, the science, the art of change,
Yeah.
and shifting your relationship with fear is a massive component of that. Because another thing that the olden days gave us was this belief structure on fear, that it's bad, that we should hate it, that we should be mad at it, that we should push through and do it anyway. And all of that actually makes the fear stay around longer,
Mm-hmm.
makes it more pervasive. When we go, wait a second, fear becomes present when my growth is upon me. Fear becomes present when I am becoming her. Fear becomes present when I'm leaning into something that is in my heart's desire and in my vision, yet my mind and my nervous system has no evidence that I've done it before and lived to tell the tale. So when you recognize that and you understand basic knowledge on fear and the truth about it, it allows you to recognize that fear that you're experiencing and the change that you just articulated,
Mm-hmm.
that's amazing and it's beautiful. And what it really means is like, hey girl, you're changing, you're doing the thing. So fear steps in because fear perceives that there's something threatening happening. And then as you become the beautiful being that's directing this whole energetic being having a human experience thing, you know how to love that fear, how to literally talk to it, personify it, be with it. Like, hey, I know you're here because you think, I'm going to die. But really, I'm getting my needs met. And something as, and it's profound to have this conversation, something as seemingly simple as getting your needs met will thrust your nervous system into a fear response because it is unfamiliar, because the old you didn't get your needs met.
Mm-hmm.
It's not just things like building a big company or climbing Machu Picchu that is going to trigger your fear response. It is often that nuanced, small things that you're like, what? Why do I feel so afraid? That's why.
Yeah. Fear is fascinating. I mean, I personally, I've faced many different types of fear of being vulnerable in a relationship, fear of, I had cancer a couple of years ago, so fear of literally trying to survive, but then also something that's a bit of a kind of buzz topic at the moment is not this fear of failure, but fear of success, which would also indicate having your needs met. So, how can we start to get comfortable with this fear and just simply having our everyday needs met?
Mm. So the answer, and I want to come back to the fear of success thing. So I just want to
Okay.
say that the answer is, how do we get comfortable? We work with giving our nervous systems the love that it's asking for.
Mm.
Getting comfortable is not a cognitive process. Actually, most everything is not a cognitive process, but part of this perpetuating the lack, fear, and separation of the third dimension is getting the world to believe that it's all a neck up process, and it's not. You very seldom go cognitive when you're really, really connected. You understand that it's a journey of your body and your highest self, and then you use this thing in between your ears to think intentionally, right? So how you get comfortable is by giving your system the safety it's asking for. And the easiest ways to do that is breathing. Really like breathing, whether it's alternate nostril breathing. I'm sure I'm telling you everything you teach and know, right? But really to reiterate, alternate nostril breathing, I love. 4-7-8 breathing, right? Simply changing the depth, rate, and pattern of how you breathe. Truly breathing in and out through your nose so your belly's filling up. You know, we don't realize that we spend more time not breathing,
Holding
right?
that breath.
Literally
Catch
holding your breath.
yourself
Like, it's
every.
shocking that we're all not dead.
Yeah.
With how many minutes you are not breathing and not even realizing that you're not breathing, right? So, you know, that and a grounding, I find. I mean, that we have somatic practices. There's so many things, as you
Yeah.
know. But the easiest thing to do to create comfort is drop into your body with breathing.
Yeah.
Really. In and out through your nose. Get that air down into your belly, into your lower lung, where it can activate that parasympathetic state where you can give your body the safety it needs so that you can do these big, different, unfamiliar things that your personal identity evolution is asking you to do.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how. And I love fear of success. I've been talking about fear of success for years. And
And the world's
what
finally catching up with you.
I'm so glad. Welcome, everyone. Welcome. The thing I wanted to share about that is fear of failure is actually fear of success in a more societally acceptable way to discuss it.
Yes.
Because we're so good at like failure, and it's so limiting, and like failure is this innocent thing, and then our society just churned it through to make it mean something about you. It's ridiculous. Like, that's the kind of stuff that gets me excited, because we're having elevated conversations. And if you are still living in a paradigm where failure means you suck, we need to talk. Right? I just have to say it like it is. So recognizing that fear of failure really isn't the thing. It's fear of success disguising as fear of failure, because you can commiserate with people on that.
Mm-hmm.
So there's just a little moment for you. Do with it what you
I really love it, because I mean, I thought for years that it was failure that I was trying to avoid. And actually the moments where in a previous business I sabotaged myself the most was when I was becoming successful and actually enjoying what I was doing. And so you notice, and a lot of this is subconscious as well. We're not even aware. And but I guess, like you've just said, is listening to a conversation like this is going to help your awareness.
That's right. That's right. And if you want to play with this, because I'm always about giving and giving the how, allow yourself to identify using this prompt. My next level of success feels scary because,
Mm.
and just start stream of consciousness writing, and you'll come up with all kinds of things.
Mm-hmm.
And then you can see it, and then you can go, wow, okay. And then we can start to work with that.
Yeah, so then, because then from that we have the awareness. So I'm afraid of my next level of success, because it brings about a new level of responsibility, and then you invite in more responsibility, or you what
Yeah, okay, good. Stay right there. Let's just play, because this is super fun. And responsibility feels scary because,
responsibility feels scary because there are other people involved, and you're responsible for, you could be responsible for other people's success. Okay, let's me as a coach, a fear that I would have of responsibility would be that I am helping other people change their lives, and so that responsibility then falls on me to the
Mhm.
cognitive
Okay,
mind.
stay right here. This is huge, right? So I would then say, well, would you agree that that's one perspective of many choices?
Yes.
Right. Okay. And then I would ask you, where does your association to responsibility come from? And what age are you in your birth order? When you were a little girl,
Oh, yeah.
what did you learn about responsibility?
Yeah, personally, I took responsibility for a lot of my parents' divorce. Um, and then ever since have actually run away from responsibility, yet
This is
taken on responsibility for everybody else.
this is so beautiful. First of all, I want to witness you and love you right now because you're playing with me, and this is such service. And these are the conversations that the world needs. So thank you for being who you are. And thank you for trusting me in this moment and giving this gift to your listeners. So I want you to let's just step back from what you just shared, and let's like pretend we're next to each other and we're watching this moment for this beautiful being. Can you see and start to connect the dots that the fear of success that you're perceiving as a beautiful grown up woman
Mm,
leader is actually the association and the responsibility that you created when you were a little girl,
mm,
and you take too much responsibility for everybody else's outcome, success, etc., because somewhere in your little girl experience, that was how you perceived and affirmed value or
mhm,
significance, right? Or love.
mhm,
And you don't live in that world anymore.
mhm,
And to step into what you're capable of stepping into in service of this world, you get to untether from that piece of your old program.
mm,
The woman you're becoming gets to embody and know, I am not responsible for other people's success. I am responsible for how I show up, for how I serve, right? And starting to really redesign what responsibility is for you.
mm. That's huge.
Let's just be with that. What comes through for you in resonance and reflection?
That redesigning of what responsibility is, because responsibility to me, I think, always had a negative um, association, and that being, I did many irresponsible things as a teenager that were dangerous physically to myself. Um, and so there's a lot of shame around that. And so maybe I link this responsibility to shame.
Absolutely, because now we have that added layer you just beautifully shared. So you're not you, your program
Mm,
does everything in its power to ensure that you are not irresponsible again.
yeah.
So it's over course correcting to you being responsible for the world.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh, which is there's a just to share with the listeners, in my body right now, there is a huge shift happening.
Okay,
The
let's be
energy is is moving. This has been a conversation that I've actually been having. It's so weird how we've ended up here. So synchronistic and beautiful. A conversation I've been having with even friends and peers about this success and this um shame and that fear of responsibility, and even it's funny how the program links where I am, where we are with this story of what happened 20 years ago.
yes. Oh my God, stay right here. This is so good for you and it's so good for everyone. And this is again, not cognitive. So what happens is that emotional habit and familiarity of shame that connected with your earlier irresponsibility moments and events in time, that emotion is stored in the body. And so now when something presents, which is why we identified the responsibility was kind of the interference to your next levels of success, when that gets ignited, which is what a trigger or an activation is it thrusts your body to believe that it's in the past.
Mm.
And then it starts to generate the shame emotion.
Mm-hmm.
And you move into a dysregulated place and you're back in the past, even though the past we know doesn't exist. But the funny thing about the past is that it's still existing in your body if we don't
Mm.
clear that shit out and work somatically and just release. Like, it's somatics isn't a mystery. Just start to feel your shit. That's pretty
Mm.
much it,
Yeah.
right? So just being with you here in this moment, because I'm like, I'm just in awe. I'm like, I'm with you, and I'm also having an out of body experience observing us, which is really cool. For you to recognize, okay, wait a second. So it's not truth at all, and it's also not true. And when I am leading in present day, and I have that sense comes upon me, that fear of responsibility, that's the moment where we pause and we go and we work with your body because we know that your body is being thrusted back into the past.
Mm.
Right. So even
Yeah.
right now, like as we're feeling this, whatever your body wants to do, let's do it. Like shake it, move
Yeah,
your body around, tap
I'm
it, whatever
moving.
you want. Like just let it. When you're connected to your body, you're connected to your power.
Oh, 100%. And this is what I love about like your work. You're dancing on a Friday afternoon or
Just move, move, move. Good, good. So now you're starting to really shift that and shake it up a little
Mm.
bit, right? And let it leave. Like emotion at its baseline is energy and motion. So let's just let it leave. Mm.
Woo.
Ha! Mm.
There's I this has been something hanging around in my body coming up over, in fact, probably over the last couple of years. And right now, the experience in my external reality is it's coming to a head, a massive head. Um, and so these feelings of this responsibility and this shame are really prevalent right now. And it's just very, whatever just happened feels extremely profound.
Yes, it is. It absolutely is. And you've started to release it and you understand where it came from, right?
Mm.
And we don't need to do any more excavation. This is the other part that everyone needs to hear. The two best things that you can do to evolve and become is work with your body and embody the version of you that already fully believes and knows all of the truth, right? Like, I am worthy. Uh, I love that I allow other people to be responsible for themselves. Like, that would be something that we'd work on, right? That your next level knows. So it's not about this constant excavation and like perpetual healing with focus, because that actually puts your focus and attention in the opposite of the progress and the leaping and the expansion that you want. And oftentimes you're just feeding your overachievement or your overanalyzation or your perfectionism, and you're just masking it as healing. That's
Mm-hmm.
really important. I see a lot. So it's like, great, stay with your body, keep working with your body in all the ways that we can somatically, and in your day to day, moment to moment. And this is part of our IP, what we do. Well, what would she do?
Yeah.
What would she say? How would she think about this? How would she show up in this moment? So that combo of clean and clear in the body and actually embodying, as in being her now, will do more for your healing and your belief reprogramming than anything else.
That's incredible, because what I took from that was, so a lot of work that I do with my clients is shadow work. So, but people can get addicted to shadow work,
Yes.
and we get addicted to the healing because we think we're doing something, but that's still the old programming. It's still trying to fix stuff.
Boom. It's so nuanced. And this is such a vital conversation. Like, what a gift this conversation is. And I also want to be clear. I love it all. I believe in it all. Shadow work, parts work, integration work, quantum leaping work, manifestation work, somatic work, nervous system work, all the things that, yes, yay, yay. And understanding that you want to progress, right? You want to honor all of the different calls of your soul and objectives of your soul that include healing and growing and ascending and evolving. It is not wrong by any stretch, it's imperative. And then once you have identified what's happening in the shadow, right, then we're integrating that into your body. So ultimately, the healing becomes like, the visual for me is always, you remember the Russian nesting dolls where the tiny one goes into the bigger one, goes to the big, it's like that. It's like, now all of the parts were integrated, right? We're there. And as you progress, the deepest wounds, they don't alleviate, even when we do fabulous, all the work. So if we're not always focused on embodying the woman we're becoming, then this weird thing happens where we think we're not ready or we haven't done enough healing yet. And then we're waiting for some like miraculous occurrence to finally make you move forward. And it's like, Queen, that's called abdication of power. Okay. You are not taking ownership for yourself, right? So in that, it's like, great. So we have the shadow work, and then you continue on. And then guess what? When that wound gets activated and you're like, whoa, my body just went back into the past again. There, it's asking for something else. And then you could go back in that moment beautifully, like, because I'm sure you can attest, and go, great, what else was in there that is asking for your love, is asking for your attention, right? When we go into our shadows, so much of it is because we've disassociated and cut off those parts of ourselves because our systems didn't want to feel the pain again, right? Because it's like, you know what, I'll just cut that off because that feels dark, right?
Yeah.
And then what happens is that we're literally parsing ourselves, like piecing ourselves out. And then we're asking questions like, why is this so hard? And it's because you're not actually all of you, because you've denied parts of you that are beautiful. I don't care what has happened to you or what you perceive you have done. You are whole and you are worthy and you are enough. And all those parts are asking for is some love and acceptance. And how dare you deny those parts of yourself? It's you. Like, why be against yourself?
Yeah. But it's sometimes it is so difficult to be for ourselves.
Well, that's also interesting, right?
Mm-hmm.
Right? And the new world we're building is that's a prereq. And as a leader in this new world,
Oh, yeah.
we are a tribe of women who is for ourselves. There's enough shit in this lifetime that's going to attempt to be against you.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't you agree that being against yourself needs to be unacceptable?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Like, just baseline. I have 3 daughters, as I mentioned, and there's been a couple main principles that have been like my mission to embark, and to impart on them. And that's been one of them. Like, you can do a lot of things, but being against yourself, being mean to yourself, no,
Yeah.
that's just a non-starter.
That's amazing, because I think I do often wonder, and we're going to find out, because as you say, we're moving into a new world, and how children will grow up being their biggest cheerleader, and what will be achieved in the world when people fully love themselves. Because that's my biggest, I've I've recently written a book, and I'm editing it at the moment and going through, but looking at, wow, I didn't realize what the point of the book was until I got to the end, and I realized it was the story of a girl who just did not love herself. And the book is a love story because it's how I began to fall in love with myself more every day, and what can be created from that space, what can be created and birthed in this world from a space where everybody loves themselves first and foremost.
Yeah, and the answer is everything, right?
Mm.
Because that is the truth of your wholeness. You're whole,
Yeah, yeah.
inherently whole.
What do you see for the world? I'm curious, from this space of wholeness.
It makes me emotional because when you imagine a world where each individual person operates from their wholeness, the depth of patience and compassion and love and inclusion and innovation and creativity, it's unlimited. It's unlimited. And the byproducts of that are healthy people and uh, stronger, not stronger like resilient, stronger, but more bolstered mental health and emotional health. And when you love and accept yourself, we innovate more because failure is not a thing in your in your purview. So you just get after it, right? And you're collaborating and there's no more competition. It's literally like an elevation of the world from the third dimension of consciousness to the fifth dimension of consciousness and beyond, where we're creators and we're lovers. And it doesn't mean that everyone sees things the same way, because that's not a thing. And the acceptance to allow people to live and let live,
Mm-hmm.
right? That comes forth because you're whole. So you're satiated and safe within yourself. Well, that's a
Yeah.
whole different ballgame.
Whole different ball game. And just to put to anybody listening to this, maybe just ask yourself what you can create from a space of feeling safe within yourself and loving yourself completely. I think that's probably one of the biggest questions we can ask ourselves, because then we can align with that vision of who we're becoming
That's right.
and
That's
and act from that every day.
Yes, and that's the embodiment of the person you're becoming.
Mm-hmm.
And it's beautiful. What's the name of your book?
Living fast, trying not to die young.
Oh, I like it. I'm excited. I'm excited to read your book.
Thank you. I appreciate that. Well, we've got one reader so far.
Definitely me. I'm excited. It's awesome.
Oh,
That's awesome.
amazing. Tracy, how did you? So, I'd like to talk about the School of Becoming and
Yes.
how you came to this point in your journey. Like, how did it become the School of Becoming?
Ah, so the Lit Factor just turned 6 years old.
Amazing.
And thank you. And in the course of the work that we've done, it's been really, really quite incredible. In year two, I created Mind Magic, which is our core, it's level one in our core curriculum in the school. But Mind Magic has been around since 2018. And through the course of serving it and the transformations, like, you create things and you cannot even begin to fathom the impact
Mm-hmm.
and the combination of the IP and the methodology that is Mind Magic. One works 100% of the time and was creating all of these incredible transformations. And women that were in the growth work or healers themselves or coaches themselves were coming out of the program going, I've been doing work for years. What was that? Right? So then that birthed a certification, which wasn't even in my vision, right? Like I've never had that in the process. But I was like, okay. So what occurred to me at that moment was it can't just be you. Your mission is huge. You're here to really, really help be a leader in building this new world. So the certification is such a beautiful gift from the universe because it can't just be you. So now, as you certify, so we certify leaders and entrepreneurs in mind magic. So you can take it out into your clients, the full program or parts of it, the methodology, all of that. So all of this growth was happening. And it was about a year and a half ago, because that's how long it took to birth and bring School of Becoming to fruition. It was another beautiful download, because so we had all this proven, like we've been case studied and evaluated, and we had all this proven IP going on. It is working every time. So there was that. And I was in a place where I was observing and sensing like the world is changing and we actually need new schools of thought, and we need environments and spaces where women leaders and entrepreneurs can come and they know this is what they're doing here. And school makes sense to us. We know what school is. We invest in school. We get it. And then we add the third part of it was when I was a little girl, like I was telling you about in the beginning, I wanted to be a teacher. That's always been the dream. So when I was little, like 7, 8 years old, my mom built a classroom in the basement of my house in New Jersey, like old school, blackboard, chalk, erasers. She was a speech pathologist. She gave me like her teacher books, and I had all my animals and my dolls set up, and I would run class. And I was so committed to my teaching dream that when real life little friends would knock on my door in New Jersey to ask for a play date, I would answer the door and I would say, I cannot play with you right now. I'm in class, but maybe I'm available tomorrow. Like that's the
That's the
depth.
level of sass you had as a child.
Yeah. Like, I'm sorry, I have a fake classroom downstairs and you might be a live person, but I'm teaching right now, so let's talk later. That was my depth of commitment and conviction. So when I reflected on, okay, so we have all of this fabulous proven outcomes, and the world needs new schools of thought, and all you really ever wanted to be was a teacher. And it was sitting in that, and then the download came in. You need a school. You need a school. Boom, School of Becoming. Because one of my most repeated quotes is, "Who you've been is zero indication of who you're capable of becoming." So then I was like, great, School of Becoming, and it was conceived, and then we created this massive, so we built it out, it's its own site, it's its own sign-in, it's its own everything, and we birthed it at the Consciousness Revolution Gala this September 29th, about a month ago.
I saw some clips from it.
Yeah.
Your dress was fabulous, but
thank you. That's all my stylist. I am a terrible shopper. I have no desire to be a good shopper. But she had gotten me that dress for the photo shoot for the school. Yeah. And then I was like, well, how fun would it be to wear it? And that was it.
Oh, amazing. I love it. And do you know what I love as well? Because people so often question what their purpose is and why they're here and what they should be doing. And we fall into roles such as accountants or just working admin in corporates. And then we forget what we loved as children. And it's so often a massive indicator as to what we should be doing.
Totally, because it's the passion of what we were drawn to before we had consciousness, judgment, discernment, influence, giving a shit what other people think, wanting love from your parents, so you become an accountant because your dad told you it was responsible and all that other shit that covers it up. So really, when you go back and you go, well, wait a second, so what did I want to do when I was 4, 5, 6? It could be exact, like my example, or it could be the characteristics or qualities of, like, if you were always caregiving in some capacity and you like loved, right, or you were always organizing something. Like my daughter, who's a sophomore in college, started her organization business already because, like, when she was little, all she wanted to do was move stuff around, configure things, organize things. Once she like moved her room 35 times, she went to her sister's drawers, like, so, and she loves it, right? Yeah. And we know when you love what you do, you never work a day in your life. One of the best phrases of all time.
Absolutely. That's amazing. Now we're quickly running out of time. Time is evaporating. Time isn't real, but
Love you.
You mentioned in that, you said that the school of becoming wasn't even in your vision. And we're always encouraged to have a vision, like, and you know, I have a vision that I connect with every day, but I also connect with it loosely because I know that that may not be the highest vision of my life. So how did you?
Yes, I'm with you.
You're with me.
We're together. Okay, so a vision, a big, juicy, compelling vision is essential, period. It helps pull you out of who you've been, transcend you up, allow you to start to create, allow you to start to innovate. The most important thing are the emotions of that vision, right? The overall clarity and theme and the emotions of the woman you're becoming inside of that vision. So in my visions, when it was, you know, speaking on stages to thousands and reaching millions and achieving my mission of elevating consciousness and raising the frequency for progressive change, right? I am always open to how exactly is that going to get delivered back to me, right? I'm not doing all this on my own. Greater intelligence and I are kicking it, right? We're having a great time. And I'm going to, like, the vision I see is this beautiful, juicy, compelling, like, possibility, right? And then you send it out to the waitress in the universe and you let it go. And then your daily responsibility is to embody the version of you who's already swimming around and loving and enjoying that vision. And then the how starts to present itself without you overthinking about the how. Right? And it gets to come differently. Why are you laughing?
The overthinking about the how, because that's what the ego is trained to do. How do we solve this problem?
Exactly. That's why my podcast, which is the official podcast for the school, is called The How of Within. Because there is a how, you know it and I know it. It's part of our work in the world. But the how isn't the external how that you've been trained to perceive through the ego. The how is the internal how of going within. And then the rest of it just works itself out.
How do you recommend people go within? So many people don't want to go within. I mean, I teach meditation. People avoid me when I tell them that.
It's all right. They'll all come back around to you. I know it. I want to just gift a baseline understanding. Going within feels scary because it's unfamiliar. Going within feels scary because you will start to sense and feel things that you've been doing a really good job of not feeling. You're excellent at being busy. You're excellent at judging down the emotions that come forth. You're excellent at adding something else to your calendar so you don't have to. You're excellent at lying to yourself. These are things that we're all very equipped with. And that's why we come to the point and we realize, oh my God, it's time to wake up. This is not working, right? So there's something wrong with you. You're not unique to be afraid of going within. It's what happens with all of us until we do. And then we realize, wait a minute, the gifts and the gold are inside of me. My ability to trust and lead with intuition and honor myself lives inside of me. And I'm going to accept all of the things that come through, because the only real thing that is perpetuating the fear of going within, outside of the biological nervous system component, which, you love and we'll work on that, is the judgment you're having about what you're going to discover. So what if you became non-judgmental and allowed yourself to go within? Because I'll also tell you, you mentioned purpose. Purpose is not what we do. And purpose is not our passion. And purpose is not our calling. And purpose is not what we monetize. Our purpose as spiritual, energetic beings having a human experience is to go within and heal your shit and to grow and to ascend and to answer the objective of your soul. That's the purpose. And when you start to go within, literally everything else that you were lamenting about and stressing over and problem solving for automatically evaporates, because you're playing in the root cause of your experience. There's nothing more worthy than that.
I mean, I completely agree 100%. And I know this to be true from my own experience. I know going within for me opened up a can of worms and a load of chaos in life. But I also know that through that chaos, possibility is born and it is so powerful. So I mean, I recommend everybody go within, and it's just from the own, even though it's not always comfortable, but releasing that judgment, also releasing that judgment helps us just love ourselves and each other more and more.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. And we cannot love each other if we don't love ourselves, to your beautiful mission and point.
Mm-mm.
And we can't allow ourselves to be connected to if we don't feel safe in connection with ourselves. And if you're running away from yourself, you're going to continue to hope, wish, want, and pray and not stand in the reality of what you're capable of. And that makes me sad.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Let's not do.
Yeah, me too. Makes me sad too. But Tracy, I just want to thank you so much. There's so much. So I wrote down a handful, quite a few questions here that we haven't even touched on. But I'm so thrilled that this conversation went where it did. And I want to thank you from the bottom of my heart. And I really encourage. So, one of the things that I did want to touch on, but I'm going to encourage people go and listen to your podcast because it was, the hidden power in emotions that you spoke about. You posted it today, and I've listened to it. And I really recommend people just go and experience you and your work on Instagram, on the podcast, and join the School of Becoming, because I mean, I can feel the energy, the power just in this conversation here, and I'm sure our listeners will too. So thank you for being here and agreeing to have this conversation with me.
Thank you for having me. And two things. Uh, I would love to have another conversation if it serves you. We can go through all the questions that you originally had and any feedback or questions you get from your beautiful listeners. We can come back and we can talk again because this is how we serve.
Let's
And I
do
love it.
it. That's
So there's so
wonderful. So there's an invitation to all of our listeners to send in your questions, and
yes.
we'll have Q&A with Tracy.
Oh, this being so great. I love it. This is like what I live for. It's so much fun, right? And then the
So
other
much
thing I
fun.
want to share to all your beautiful listeners is the School of Becoming. When you come in, you get to create a free account. You get to take a gorgeous free ascension assessment, which tells you where you are on the ascension spectrum, and it's a visual so you can see. So coming into the school allows you to just start to play, enjoy all of the free resources we have, read and watch and listen, content to support your intentional evolution. And then we go from there. So come in and just create your free account and start to play with us.
Amazing, absolutely magical. So I'll put all of the links for that in the show notes, in the description. So please, everyone, go and check it out. We'll also be sharing this all over Instagram, so the links will be there. Tracy, is there anything any parting advice that you would like to share off the back of this conversation, maybe to somebody who can relate to the fear of success or anything that we've spoken to?
Yeah. The world needs the necessity of your bigness now more than it ever has. And I want to remind you that it's not about you. So all the fears that we experience that on the level of the nervous system are very beautiful and very appropriate. But then all the stories and the narratives that spin out as a result of that are so unhelpful because your impact is not about you at all. You're the vessel. And when you can stop conflating your worth with the value of what you're here to do, and you can actually remove yourself, now we're on to something, right? And literally the time is now. Like, it's abundantly clear. If you're awake, you can sense the world is screaming and starving. We need more light workers. We need more and more. There aren't nearly enough. A lot of people come to me like, oh, but it's so saturated. I'm like, I don't know what world you're observing, but we need thousands and thousands of more beautiful light workers coming through and stepping into the necessity of their bigness. And when I say light worker, it doesn't mean you have to be a healer or a coach, but a woman who is connected to her calling and unapologetically beaming her bigness is a light worker.
Yeah, let's bring back the witches.
Amen, sister.
Let's bring back what we were burned at the stake for.
Exactly. That's exactly it.
Oh, Tracy, this might be one of the most powerful conversations we've had on the podcast. So thank you so much.
Thank you. I received that fully. Fully.
Amazing. Thank you for tuning in to this week's episode of The Mandala Effect. If you enjoyed today's episode, be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on your favourite podcast platform. I greatly appreciate your ongoing support, and the podcast wouldn't be where it is today without you. So thank you. Don't forget to share this podcast with your friends and family, and let's continue spreading the mandala effect of magic and infinite possibilities. See you next week.